Okay, awesome. So welcome to the Stigma Free Zone webinar. This is brought to you by our Stigma Free Somerset County Initiative. And we're really excited to have you here today so we can explain a little bit more about our Stigma Free Initiative and encourage other people to get involved. So that's really the intention today, is just to spread some awareness, encourage additional communities to sign on to our initiative, but also to inspire some of our existing partners to keep this initiative alive. So we really are aiming to spread awareness about our Stigma Free Initiative and encourage everyone in our community who lives, works, and visits Somerset County to join us. So before we go into what our Stigma Free Initiative is and even what stigma is, we really have to discuss what mental health is, because that's really what this all hinges on. So mental health is, everybody has it, everyone experiences it, and it's really just what it is to be human. So when we say mental health, we're also including our substance use disorders, because it's impossible to separate those out, and they really have to be acknowledged as part of this continuum. So a lot of times that's very siloed, but we really try to experience that is, or try to emphasize that is part of that experience. But everybody has mental health, just like everyone has physical health. And that is experienced a lot of times by really manageable things. So it's what we're experiencing, what we're going through as humans, and our reactions can be really relative to the situation. But when we're experiencing mental health through our day-to-day, it doesn't destroy our relationships. It doesn't impact us so badly that we can't go through our daily activities of living. They're very temporary thoughts and feelings, and they can really be relative to our situation. So everyone has felt what it is to be depressed, to be isolated, to be lonely. But when it's difficult to manage or occurring over longer periods of time, that's when it really starts looking like a mental health condition. So if it's uncomfortable, if it's hard to manage, and if those impacts become more negative, that's when we really see it is a condition. But they can be incredibly hard to differentiate between just having a bad day or a bad week, or something that maybe needs a clinical diagnosis and clinical intervention. But regardless, we display this here because both are incredibly important, and we have to acknowledge the mental health impacts as well as what it is to have a biological condition. So when we say a mental health condition, we're really looking at anybody who kind of has enough criteria that they would have a diagnosis. And that doesn't mean that they're in treatment or that they even maybe acknowledge it themselves. Just that 1 in 5 people are walking around with enough symptomology that falls under the mental health or the substance use umbrellas. So that 1 in 5 figure turns out to be about 69,000 Somerset County residents, or that's about the population of our largest municipality, Franklin. So if we're looking at our entire Somerset County population, about 1 in 5 are living with the symptoms of a mental health or substance use condition. And a lot of times, all of our studies show that these mental health conditions onset by adolescence. So what that means is about 50% of people who will have a mental health or a substance use diagnosis are seeing some of those symptoms by the time they're 14 years old. So that means by the time they've gotten to high school, some are already experiencing reactions to trauma, to chemical imbalances, to substance use. And by the age of 24, that's about 75 people, or 75% of people. So that's major. We would think that we would be able to narrow that down and have early intervention and pathways for people through more of a prevention lens. But we have seen that there's an average of an 11-year delay in seeking treatment for mental health and substance use disorders. And that really is due to stigma. So you'll hear the word stigma 100 more times before this video is through. So it behooves us to define it so we can all wrap our heads around what that means and what we're trying to reduce. So stigma is really seen as a mark of disgrace. So these are negative stereotypes, negative associations with certain memberships or group characteristics. So they could have something to do with specific likes, specific interests. But when we're talking about stigma, we're really referencing it about mental health and substance use disorders, and the difficulties that that can provide, as well as what that means in terms of race, social class, income, and disability status. We know that stigma can impact on multiple levels. So a personal, how we view ourselves, what we think we are capable of. Interpersonal, how we interact with others, how we view other people, and our societal level, which creates more challenges in our relationships, in our housing, employment, and education. And we also know that that is the #1 reported reason that people do not reach out for help or support. So whether they are being held back by their own views of what they think about themselves or what they think about people who have these conditions, we see, unfortunately, a lot in pop culture and in the media and just in our society about how we treat and value people that may be different than us or have more challenges. While we are getting away from that, and the Stigma Free Initiative is proof that there are enough people that want to change those thoughts and behaviors, we still can see it on a very real basis as we see interpersonally. These negative associations can really increase isolation, bullying, and even discrimination. People still feel that mental health and substance use is a moral failing or something that was wrong on the part of a parent or a family member, someone's upbringing. And if you're associated with somebody, what does that say about you? So we are working really hard to reduce those impacts by purely showing the prevalence and how integrated into our society all of our residents are, and how really our Stigma Free Initiative works to raise that awareness, where we see that people are brought down by these barriers. But this educational campaign really works to encourage that respect for everybody in the county, by reducing the judgment as a barrier, but more so by celebrating and lifting up all of our community members. So it's very important that we take away the power of these taboos and really instead replace them with the ability to seek education, to connect to somebody that's different than you, that has walked through this path, and really just to encourage residents who, now that they might have realized that either themselves or somebody that they love or care about could benefit from some additional support, us making sure that we connect them to what that next step is. How do they go about finding the resources in the community, and what even are our options? So how does the Stigma Free Initiative fit into all this? I think our #1 power is by utilizing our visibility. So we do that in 2 ways. Through community education, through events such as this, through coming to community events, tabling, just showing up, having our logo everywhere, encouraging conversation and encouraging connection to some of the local events. So we have a wonderful network in Somerset County of mental health providers, substance use services, all along the spectrum. Those who try to educate and prevent, those who treat, and those who provide recovery support. So we work really hard to make sure that all of our providers in the county are also having their voice heard. So making sure that people are able to access what services they need, especially those ones that do still have stigma around them, including domestic violence, substance use. We really are working to try to reduce the power that those stigmas hold and instead replace them with the opportunity for people to seek treatment and increase and improve their quality of life. And lastly, be the leaders in the community so that our residents, our customers, our clients, and our employees are seeing that Somerset County cares about our residents and wants to increase their well-being and their chances of having a fantastic life. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it along to Mark Williams, who is the chair of our committee, our community advocate, who is going to give us a little bit of history and a little insight of what to do next.
Thank you, Meg. Greetings all, and thank you so much for taking the time to attend today's information session. So how did I get started? The anatomy of a stigma-free campaign. Already knowing that stigma is the #1 reason people don't seek mental health services who need them, I went on an internet search and came across the Cody Fund for Mental Health. It was founded in 2012 by former Governor Richard Cody and his wife, Mary Jo. The Stigma Free Zone campaign was the educational arm of this project. And if you will, it was funded out of private funds provided by the Codys. What I discovered was that most of the framework for the local campaign had already been mapped out in the form of a toolkit. Lucky me. Looking to launch the initiative locally, I presented the idea for the campaign to my community leaders in North Plainfield in December of 2016. The proposed Stigma Free Zone initiative was then placed on the council's January 23rd meeting agenda and approved upon the second reading on February 13th. I was like, oh boy, what have you done now? It happened really quickly. So I knew I had to get to work, and I recruited 6 campaign community ambassadors. So anyone who is a member of a stigma-free campaign is called an ambassador. And we set out to create a kickoff event to introduce the initiative to the community. On April 6, 2017, the North Plainfield Stigma Free Zone campaign was born. We developed a GoDaddy website, a Stigma Free Zone Facebook page, brochures, buttons, lawn signs. We gathered resource material, which I need to mention that is free. Don't let the fact that you need to gather resources and you think that they might need to cost money be a barrier to you starting the campaign and distributing material. You can get a lot of material free from the government.org. All you have to do is Google it. And then we hit the road. One of the things that I was most proud of was our multicultural makeup of the team. It is a given that all cultures have their own unique taboos regarding conversations around mental health. So by having a multicultural makeup, we were able to provide diversity of voices to the campaign. We found a welcoming, open door in the faith-based community, particularly from Unitarian Universalists. We conducted several information sessions in local congregations in Somerset and Union County. Plainfield came on board right around the same time, and we were able to lend our expertise to the City Council of Plainfield, and they also adopted a stigma-free zone resolution in partnership with Bridgeway Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services. We attended health fairs and community gatherings where our attendance was appropriate, always making sure to tap into and share other mental health organization resources on our web pages. So not looking to reinvent the wheel, but just if there was a fair going on or someone else was having a mental health conference, we made sure to share those resources and partner with them. After covering the local communities, we extended our outreach and went to the county level. And the rest, as they say, is history. Lessons learned. Make sure your initiative is not anchored in one person. Because if that person leaves for whatever reason, there goes your initiative. Make sure that you have multiple leaders and that there is an investment in the project, in the initiative, with multiple stakeholders. Don't reinvent the wheel. There are many resources that are available from many local and community mental health service providers. Look to duplicate what it is that they're doing and expand it or customize it as you need to. Cultivate relationships and partnerships with other service providers. Be prepared for an energy ebb and flow. People will come and go for various reasons. Over the years that I've been involved in working in the mental health field, I've learned that a lot of individuals who are invested in mental health services and being an advocate have themselves self-identified as having a mental health concern, or they have a family member. And sometimes the pressure of being a caregiver or having symptoms themselves could cause people to drop off of the initiative, or their energy just might be very low, and they just need a break. They just need a break. So prepare for that. Again, don't worry about not having a source for funding. Have a bake sale. Don't let funding be a barrier to getting the resources that you need. I can remember first starting out, I funded a lot of the activities and material that we had available because it was time for me to give back as a volunteer. I can't remember the name of the printing agency now, but I just went on and looked for a marketing item that they were having in terms of having a sale, and I ordered Vista Prints. I ordered 10 signs from Vista Prints, and then they had a half price sale. So I got 10 more at half price. And then I put on the website, I put up a notice for my community, who wants to put a sign on their lawn for 2 weeks during Minority Mental Health Month, or May as Mental Health Awareness Month, or something like that. And people just came out of the woodwork and said, yeah, I'll put a sign on my lawn. And then I just rotated those signs around town. So I had 15 to 20 signs that I just rotated around signs around town so that they could be in all parts of the town. And then I started having bake sales, and people started donating money. So items started coming in. And then I partnered with Somerset County for a bigger initiative and a larger voice to be able to spread the word. There are some counties in New Jersey where as many as 70 towns are stigma-free zones. Here in Somerset, we have 13 towns that have adopted the pledge. We have 8 more to go. Come on, people, we can do this. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mark. I so appreciate your words. I'm going to continue to pass the mic over to one of our champions, one of our stigma-free ambassadors that has been there from what feels like the very beginning. I'm passing it over to Mayor Mary Jane Canose from Bernardsville Borough to explain what they've done in their municipality with the Stigma Free Initiative and why it matters to them. Thank you, Mayor Canose.
Unmute. Okay. I am now unmuted. Okay. Thank you, Meg, and thanks to all of you for being here today. I know it's a nice day on a middle of the afternoon, so we really appreciate you coming to our program. Bernardsville is a fairly small borough in Somerset County. So the challenge for us and maybe some of your towns in signing on to a new initiative is time and manpower. But we felt that the Stigma Free Initiative was so important that we really wanted to bring it to the community. So rather than try and form yet another committee, what we did was incorporate Stigma Free into the Mayor's Wellness Campaign Committee, which was already in place. And we partnered with Community in Crisis. I see some of you here, which is a nonprofit in our community that focuses on substance use education and recovery. So after the council passed the resolution, Community in Crisis provided mental health first aid training to all of our borough department heads and some of our elected officials. And even one of our council members reported the very next day she was able to use some of the skills she learned in the training with a coworker who was struggling with some issues. So it really works. The training is incredible. It is a full day, but it's well worth it. Community in Crisis has also provided the training to members of the school staff. And where our goal is to offer the training to members of the community as well. And the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute, which is the group that sponsors the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, also provides free mental health first aid training through a grant that they have from the Horizon Foundation. So if you check out their website, I believe they have a youth mental health training coming up on May 4th. So anytime you want to have that training, most of the time you can get it for free. We've found that by partnering with other groups and organizations in our town, we've been able to reach much more of the community. Just for example, this Saturday, we're co-sponsoring a recovery hike with Community in Connection on one of the borough's newest trails. So we combined Earth Day, Trails Day, and Stigma Free into one event. We may not be able to do as much as some of the larger municipalities, but if every community does something, it can really make a difference. We want our residents to not be afraid to get the help they need. And by eliminating the stigma free that goes along with mental health and substance use disorders, we can create healthy communities. And I can't imagine any mayor that doesn't want a healthy community. So thank you for being here and thanks for your time. Now, we also have our Stigma Free sticker right in the front door of Borough Hall.
Thank you for that, Mayor Canose. I appreciate the visibility and what you're doing in your municipality and how trying to spread the word and make the initiative a little larger than life. So a lot of what Mark and Mayor Canose was just touched upon are the benefits of joining the initiative. Initially spreading education and reducing some of those harmful stereotypes and the misinformation that keeps people isolated, ostracized, and quiet about what are things that are considered taboos that shouldn't be. So instead, we'd like to promote some of those resources, our wonderful agencies that provide services, treatment and training that a lot of times can help us bridge the gap when services can be very expensive or not as accessible. We can help bridge the gap with all of our amazing partners and really try to spread that awareness of things that are amazing things that are already happening all throughout our Somerset County communities in our different municipalities and programs. And lastly, really showcasing our towns, our businesses, and our civic groups as leaders that really value the health and the well-being of everybody who works in their community, lives in their community, our customers, our clients, that this is a community that cares. They're progressive, they have great health outcomes, great accessibility, and that is, in my opinion, an intrigue to bring more people into our community, knowing it's going to be a safe place for them. So why now? Depression and anxiety are on the rise. The World Health Organization several years ago had pegged depression as the #1 leading disability worldwide. So now in 2022, they have reported that the pandemic has triggered an increase of anxiety worldwide, and that's across the lifespan. So our youth that we know are assimilating back into in-person school, our older adults that were dealing with the isolation, and everybody in between trying to navigate work and stress and politics and media and cell phones, that has really shown an increase in this prevalence. But the good news is that reducing that stigma, it has been clinically shown to actually increase the amount of people that seek treatment, as well as alter some of those public perceptions and beliefs. So the Harvard University JFK School of Government put out a study last year proclaiming these things that have been massive successes in connecting residents to mental health and substance use services. And the elements that are quoted during the study really focus on destigmatizing the language, the way that services are provided, the way that we talk about clients, we talk about people that access these services, people who have loved ones. The way that we change our language absolutely shifts our public values, and our public values absolutely trickle down to the way that we live from a societal level all the way down interpersonal to personal. So as we're seeing the depression and anxiety on the rise, we are also seeing the ability to try to reduce that stigma, and how that is shown as a direct way to change our beliefs and connect people to services and health care treatment that will increase their quality of life, their length of life, and their ability to have choices and opportunities that are going to fit their own personal happiness. So what now? These are not specific steps you have to take in any order, just some examples of what you can do. First, though, we would encourage you to take the pledge, whether you're an individual or business, or pass a resolution for your town. If you can see on our website, we have the link to our toolkit that can break down specific next steps for what to do, how to get started. So it has all these ideas and much more. But again, we have to utilize our visibility to make the largest leverage. So proclaiming some of these great accomplishments on websites, in newspapers, in municipal buildings, really showcasing the visibility that this is a place that will treat everybody equally, and then also make the connection to any needed resources. And that can be done through like meeting with our committee to determine what is right for your specific community. And community being an umbrella term. Is that your town? Is that your church, your civic group, your business, your neighborhood? What does that mean for you? And what are the next steps that fit your group? Is that a mental health first aid training? Is that a town hall? Or a self-care event? Is that a fundraiser? Or is that simply providing information to your community on what else is occurring, on how to find a therapist, on what you can do to care about all of the other elements of your wellness, how to make sure you're sleeping enough, you're eating well, all of these things that contribute to our ability to lead happy and healthy lives. And lastly, to be a reoccurring figure and to join our Stigma Free campaign on a countywide level, to attend our events, attend our meetings, see what our other partners are accomplishing and contributing, and then making sure that you are pushing the ball down the field and helping us to make this program even bigger and better. So just quickly, I want to highlight those 13 towns that Mark had mentioned. These are the wonderful towns in our county that have signed a resolution and a pledge to become stigma-free within Somerset County. So we're more than halfway there. That's fantastic, but we still have a little way to go. So if you don't see your town, please partner with us and help us contact your municipal office. Encourage them to make that commitment, to find out more information, and to help, as we know that there are more and more people that are relating to these feelings of isolation. We can leverage our initiative to make sure that they're not feeling alone. And lastly, just a snapshot of some of our businesses. Want to make sure that this is not just an initiative that is seen as one that is purely governmental, but we need our nonprofits. We need our our community agencies. We need our businesses and our coffee shops to lead by example and really make sure that they are promoting to the community that this is a worthwhile initiative. So if there are any questions, please feel free to send them directly to us via our Stigma Free email address, our phone number, and make sure that you visit our website, because that's where you will find a lot more information about our monthly meeting schedules, our upcoming events, our resource information, and our toolkit. And we hope that you join us at our conference that will be occurring May 19th at RVCC. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to thank everybody who was in attendance for this event. So I will make sure I put that information in the chat. But if there were any questions, I know we have a little bit of time left. If anyone did have a question or a comment, how to bring this into your own community, or kind of what to do next.
Or how to get one of these cool t-shirts.
or how to get a t-shirt. Very important.
But Meg, if I can just pop in, if your community is not already stigma free, and I would be happy to reach out to your mayor to mayor. Sometimes that's a little easier to get through. So feel free to either reach directly to me or have Meg reach me, and I would be happy to do that.
Thank you so much, Mayor Canose. We know that that is a really important element of this too, making sure talking to your trusted partners and understanding how they're making it a real reality in their own town. That will help us for certainly. And if you see the link I put in the chat, you can click that and get connected to our conference. That's how you can sign up. And that is how you can get more involved. And again, I just want to end on the note that this is a community initiative. So if there's an element that you don't see present, something that you'd like to bring more attention to, that is what this initiative stands for. We want to reduce the stigma, and if there's something that isn't being represented, it should be brought to our attention so we can make sure that we're spotlighting it and continuing to show some advocacy and some allyship.